It is the wild, wild west out there, everyone, and we're going to get going with the big number 1,201. Now, just guess what that is. That is how many points the Dow popped yesterday, marking its biggest one-day gain in 2 years as investors reacted to a tamer-than-expected inflation report. However, if you, and you should have, listened to our resident macroeconomics, Garrett Baldwin, he pointed out that the CPI is largely dropping off because of used car sales and that essentially everything else, like the fuel that, kind of drives our economy, that has increased. Mark, Garrett couldn't be with us this morning, but we still need to have your take on CPI. Is the beat on this number a big, fat lie?
Well, it's not a lie. I mean, the number is the number, but I think the important stuff that Garrett was pointing out is that the things that affect us day to day, the things that affect people in middle class and on the lower class and even upper middle class, those are still going up. The costs of food, the cost of energy, the cost of shelter, although shelter is coming back a little bit, that is, I think, what Garrett's bigger point was, is that, yes, used cars are dropping. We are finally starting to see the housing market pull back a little bit, but the things that affect us every day, like gas and food, are still rising. And that is ignoring some of the supply chain issues that we have. That's kind of the problem that we see with this CPI number, is that the individual pieces don't help us maybe as much as the overall number does.
Well, Mark, we have J-Bone in the chat, and like you said, Mark, I mean, the number is the number, right? But J-Bone saying
Right.
Numbers don't lie, but liars use the number, and it looks like we're getting a lot of emojis in there. Depending, look at putting that aside. Yeah. Is the media trying to hype this up to kind of skew it to be more positive, or are they just too lazy to dig into the numbers?
Well, let's not forget, the financial media make more money when the market goes up because there's more advertising. They're literally cheerleaders, and that is what most of the media does. And frankly, most of them don't know very much about financial markets. They studied journalism in college. They didn't study finance. Some of them, that's not the case, but a lot of those really, really smart people that were on air have slowly been leaving the air, and we've gotten these journalists. But I don't want to just sit here and bag on financial journalists. Again, the number was the number. It was a beat. It did fall year over year. Used vehicle sales had been kind of insane. It's nice to see that coming down a little bit. But again, food, energy, things like that are still rising. The supply chain issues are still there. And that is, and this is, when I saw the notes last night, I went to Garrett and got his notes, reading through it. And then, I'm kind of interpreting what Garrett had said to me in my own lens, along with what else I saw. But, yesterday, was a day to rally, but it was also helped by a big short squeeze. CTAs, the commodity traders, that were, in systematic shorts, had to flip systematic long, and we completely broke out. Heading into the number, the CPI number, the market was looking for about an 80-point move. We got a 207-point move. So that just kind of goes to show you how a big move can then lead into a squeeze, which then leads to more short covering.
Yeah, I mean, Mark, I'm just going to pull up the cues real quick, and I was short going into yesterday. I was because we had a volume profile breakdown. It just technically made sense, and I always warn everyone, including myself, look, your risk is, it's rare, but your risk is gapping higher the next day. And that's what we did. We gapped higher back into the volume profile, back over the point of control.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a really strong move. And essentially, like you said, it was had to do a lot with short covering. There were a lot of different components on there.
Yeah.
All that to say, were you able to capitalize on the market's rally with some money flow? Did you kind of see this coming at all?
Yeah, we, as the day progressed, we did put on a bullish trade and expiration trader. Ended up working. I had to get out, thanks to your bombshell at the end of the day. I had to get my traders out early, but we did get out. for a nice little profit. I guess it was helpful that I knew that I needed to get out early from your bombshell.
Mhm.
But would have liked it if you gave me a no bombshell yesterday. The Yeah, you're like, oh, let's see if there's a bombshell. I'm like, no bombshell, no bombshell, no bombshell, stop. And then you go, bombshell.
It was a
And
bonus bombshell, though.
it was, but we were already sitting at my short strike, so that would
Oh,
have I
sorry.
needed us to just sit. Um, so now, more importantly, yes, yesterday was a really interesting opportunity, I think, to take some money off the table in some winners, but really continue to go after some things. Some things that were interesting, and we're going to talk about in a second, were
Mhm.
the China trade and the China reopen, and I'm going to want to hit on that. But that is kind of the lead story right now. I think for the
Mhm.
day, that's what's kind of pulled us higher for a second time. The fact that we're only up 20 points makes me wonder exactly what's going on. But there's some, I got to say, I am, and I think I said this last week, I want to buy chips. There are things to buy now. Not everything, but there are things to buy.
All right. So looks like as Mark said, there's buying out there. Now, Kenny,
There
were you
is.
seeing any major moves in the Qs yesterday? How were you trading them?
Can we do me a favor? Throw that big number up there for a second. You got that graphic?
The big number.
Throw that number up there for a second. Put another zero at the end. That's how much money I lost yesterday. Right there.
Oh man.
Yeah, fantastic day. And we'll get into it with Mark. I turned what was a decent morning, and you saw how I was sobbing that I missed opportunity. Yeah, I turned missed opportunity into probably the biggest disaster I've had in, I don't know, a decade. So we got to talk about that later on. But listen, the Qs did a lot, and I had a magic number that I was waiting to see it get over that could trigger a massive rally.
Mhm. Yep.
Obviously, it happened. And what was crazy is that I was on the other side of the trade, which was ridiculous. I think I need to go check myself into therapy. But look, here's what happened. You got the CPI data. No one's going to catch the first move. So once it consolidated and started to break out, we felt a little bit more comfortable getting in. And this is where the day was still good. And I'm glad you guys. Luckily, I do all these dumb trades when I'm off the air. So everybody thought this was a fantastic day. Look how beautiful the symmetry was. So right there's the high spike on the CPI data. You pulled in, and then we broke back out. So I felt comfortable buying some and made a little money there. Then the opening session happened, and we got the beautiful test of the breakout. And the test of the breakout was the VWAP. And then someone in the chat room said, shouldn't we be buying Qs? And I said, all right, I'm going to wait a second. And that moment ruined it all for me. You had to just jump right in. Risk was defined, but my bearishness, as I was explaining yesterday, my bearishness overtook me. I wanted to see it break down and get back to where I had it earlier, and then I was going to get a little bit more aggressive. So I was feeling bullish, but I just wanted to wait it out, and the waiting cost me. So then what I spent the rest of the day doing was screwing things up. But we'll get to that in a little while.
Oh, Warlock. Well, like I said, you and I would be. I'm crying with you here because yesterday was a tough day for me as well, and that's what we do as traders. But I have to say, in the trade the close room, I mean, your targets, your calls, your members were making money. So, Warlock, thank you for having us on. Thanks for having our backs, Warlock.